2, 1. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of What Does This Button Do? A series where I play video games passionately, but with not a lot of skill.
And I drink to forget.
Tonight we are continuing to move through Case 4 of Tyrion Cuthbert, Attorney of the Arcane.
And I come to the horrifying realization that I'd do a much better job drinking to forget if I wasn't drinking Coke Zero.
Regardless, this is going to be a bit of a meaty episode this time, so we're
meaty
just
that
gonna...
we're skipping introductions, apparently.
Oh, sorry, I'm Rhiannon.
And I'm Sigma.
And as I said, we're jumping into a meaty episode of Tyrion Cuthbert, Attorney of the Arcane. We're very excited. Which is why...
Excited and apprehensive.
Which is why I was so excited I forgot to do an intro.
Well, we always find some way to flub it, don't we?
So, without any further ado, let's get into it!
Oh, yeah.
Whoopish! Order is now resumed for the trial of Beatrice Frega. Let us review yesterday's proceedings. There was much debate over William Frega's inheritance. More specifically, it was unknown whether the defendant had any claim to her father's inheritance. This detail was crucial in determining whether the defendant even had a motive to commit the murder. Luckily, the victim's will was supposedly read earlier today, and it is now a part of the public record. What were the results of the will reading, Mr. Cuthbert?
William Frega was planning to leave all of his assets to Jaden von Sanctus, his hopeful son-in-law. However, this was predicated on the condition that Jaden married the victim's daughter, Litha. And it's clear that Ms. Litha will never follow through on this engagement. If the engagement is not made in 6 months, William Frega's assets will be divided among his 3 daughters.
I see. So there was no mention of the defendant's disinheritance.
Correct, Your Honor. This means that the defendant did have something to gain from the victim's death.
Your Honor, despite the confusion around the victim's inheritance, there's still very little physical evidence that implicates my client.
May I remind you that Miriam Frega was not telling the truth in yesterday's proceedings? That itself is extremely suspect.
And William Frega was clearly not above manipulation and lying. You can't prove that she knowingly gave false testimony.
I'll admit that I can't prove that. I'll also admit that there's a lack of apparent physical evidence to substantiate our case. Which is why the prosecution would like to call Harold Haroldson to the stand.
Lord Haroldson?
The sword of spell eating clearly plays a large role in the murder, and its theft is one of the few pieces of physical evidence in this case. As the gallery's curator, I believe he can further elaborate on how the sword was stolen that night.
More specifically, you can find out about what he did on the night of the murder.
I see. Well, the court would definitely benefit from his insight. Bailiff, please escort Lord Haroldson to the stand.
Aw, look at the monkey! Hey, wait, where's the monkey?
No monkey is on the witness stand. You know how I feel about monkey business.
Witness, please state your name and occupation for the court.
Oh, of course. My name is Harold Haroldson. I am the owner and curator of Haroldson Hall of History, located in Goodness me, that is a mouthful.
Homhurst?
Yes, thank you.
Homhurst?
Homhurst, yes. Something like that. That's quite the alliterative occupation.
Harold, could you please testify to the court about how you discovered that the sword of spell eating was stolen?
If it'll help. I was keeping an eye on my gallery's exhibit when I realized that my familiar hadn't returned. I called to him telepathically, but he didn't respond. I became worried, so I went around the manor to search for him. About an hour later, I returned to the gallery and discovered that the exhibit that held the sword of spell-eating was completely destroyed. The artifact was missing, so I reported the crime to the knights of the ball, and they activated a discreet lockdown. Luckily, we found the sword and my familiar later that night.
So you went to search for your monkey, and that's why you didn't witness the theft.
Yes. The thief was probably waiting for me to leave. They must have wanted to commit the crime without anyone seeing them.
Or his testimony is completely full of it.
Or my testimony is completely full of it.
His search for Eugene must have been a cover that he's using to hide his actions that night. So how do you prove that? With punchy cross-examination.
Yes, indeed. So, how do we prove that?
Good question. Let's quickly look over what we have in our pocketses.
Yes, we'll check what's in the... Go easy on your throat, Sig. It's gonna be a long night.
Okay.
Pork.
Pork.
For those who are curious, after last episode, Z, one of our regular commenters in the chat, changed her profile pic on the Discord server to the sprite of Tracker doing the Doge face. I have not stopped laughing since.
Always lovely. I'm gonna start by pressing his statements, because looking at my evidence, I'm not sure where exactly we contradict. Why did Eugene not respond?
Does he typically ignore you like that?
Sometimes. He's a young boy, so he likes to have his privacy. I try not to pry, but I was wary of what would happen if a noble or a knight came across him. He usually knows not to bother people, but you never know what might happen.
Hang on. So Eugene, so he wasn't able to contact Eugene before the Sword of Spell Eating was reported stolen.
Yeah.
According to him.
Mm-hmm. Which is definitely odd.
Odd, nothing. It's a complete contradiction of the sequence of events as we know it. If I recall correctly, the glass was completely shattered. This is despite the presence of several abjuration spells that protected it.
Yes. It would have taken an extremely powerful spell to break it like that. As you saw, the glass display was shattered into shards.
Unless Harold had a way to dispel that magic, a powerful mage must have destroyed it. Perhaps Harold had Beatrice shatter the glass before she went to the ballroom. So... Well, he just said that sometimes Eugene ignores him.
Yes.
So...
I didn't say that this is the part we need to necessarily... I don't know... Well, I certainly don't remember where we would... The Sword of Spell Eating makes its wielder immune to The Sword of Spell Eating makes its wielder immune to magical effects. What use would the lockdown have been?
Honestly, not much. The wielder would have been immune to the anti-magic fields and the spells that prevented people from leaving. But at that point, the King's Guard would just wanted to activate it for good measure. Luckily, right, I already read this bit. Excuse me.
Let me press this.
I had Jell-O today.
His statement just now is missing some details. What details should you ask him to elaborate on? How did you find Eugene?
How did you find your horrible little monkey? How did you eventually find Eugene that night? After an hour of silence, he finally responded to my telepathic messages. He met up with me in the gallery before we went to search for the sword. So this would have been after the theft was reported. Yes.
You would have had to pick up Eugene after he murdered Lord Frega. This must be the alibi they're using to account for the time that no one could see Eugene.
This detail could be extremely important. Please add it to your testimony, witness. Harold. Yes, of course. Harold. I love Harold.
He says that he went around the manor to look for Eugene. Do you think he's telling the truth?
Maybe. But his so-called search for Eugene gave him a good excuse to not be seen by anyone. It's a decent alibi, if not without its flaws. Hey, it's Z.
Oh god, he's still doing that. Yep. Harold.
Harold.
You'll just need to poke some holes in that out.
My pronouns are Harold and Harold.
Was the lockdown wasn't lifted until they found the sword, wasn't it?
Indeed, it wasn't.
Where's the lockdown in the system?
Bada boom.
There we are. There's our chunky objection.
And the truth. I'll make you chunky. Harold, you found Eugene before you went to search for the Sword of Spell Eating. This would mean that it happened while the lockdown was still active, am I correct? Well, yes. As much as I was worried about the artifact, Eugene's safety was far more important. That's the thing, Harold. You said that after hours of silence, you finally received a telepathic message back from Eugene.
Delicious fruit soup.
Oh god, next week is soup week. Oh, I can't wait.
What?
So that leaves one question. How did you communicate with Eugene telepathically if you were both within an anti-magic field? What? Harold, in response to the theft, the King's Guard activated the lockdown system to prevent anyone from leaving. That same lockdown system would have placed an anti-magic field over every inch of that manor. That field should have suppressed the telepathic abilities given to you by familial bond. You wouldn't have been able to speak with Eugene at all.
Rabble, rabble, rabble.
Mr. Cuthbert, are you accusing the witness of lying in his testimony?
Please, Cuthbert is blowing this entire thing out of proportion.
I'm not accusing him of being truthful. A truther. Truthy.
Anti-magic field is a resource-intensive spell. We can't assume that they managed to cover every inch of the manor. Especially the areas that would only be accessible to a small animal.
Miss Timora, let's assume that Eugene managed to reach some sort of blind spot in the lockdown system. The magical telepathy granted by familial bond connects two people. Even if Eugene wasn't affected by the anti-magic field, Harold would be. That's very true. So how did I hear him that night? There's only one answer that makes sense, Harold. You did hear Eugene telepathically, because Eugene was wielding the Sword of Spell Eating.
What?
I'm sorry, Mr. Cuthbert. But are you saying that the Sword of Spell Eating was stolen by the witness's pet monkey? Oh, this is why I hate monkey business.
I am, Your Honor. It's the only way the witness's testimony makes sense.
She doesn't have a rebuttal. You should push this while you still have a chance. She doesn't have a rebuttal because it looks like you're pinning it on Harold.
That's very true. I'm too dummy thick to avoid the anti-magic field. Flap of my ass cheeks just keeps alerting.
Harold Haroldson, you were the one who stole the Sword of Spell Eating, weren't you? And what reason would I have to steal something that already belongs to me? It was to take suspicion off of you, because you were the one who had William Frega killed. You staged a robbery and used the sort of spell you need to make Eugene invisible. Then you sent him through the manor's ventilation system, also you could have him murder William Frega in his study.
Ruby has no rebuttal because this is the taking the heat off of Beatrice.
I may be dummy thick, but I'm certainly not a dummy. I wish I could say the same of our erstwhile prosecutor.
Well done, Cuthbert. I suppose you just can't stop yourself from pursuing a lying witness.
It's what I do best, Miss Demora.
Of course. Witness, do you have anything to say in your defense?
It's quite obvious, but I completely refute the prosecution's allegations. He's misguided, but he's just doing his job.
You were expecting his thoughts to be hostile, like before. Yeah. Someone's already forgotten he's supposed to be a prosecutor.
Yeah, well...
Then do you also refute your statement about Eugene telepathically speaking with you?
I know better than to lie on the stand and try to save myself. I can't explain how it happened, but I stand behind my testimony. Eugene did telepathically contact me during the lockdown, but how did he do it?
Wait, so he doesn't know how that telepathic communication happened?
Not a clue.
Perhaps he overlooked it when he was planning the murder with Beatrice. And that's your position, Cuthbert. That the witness sent a monkey to murder William Frega.
Murder monkey. The worst kind of monkey. It may sound ridiculous, but it's the only thing that makes sense. Or do you have any evidence to refute that, Ms. Demora?
No, I fully and wholeheartedly agree with you, Cuthbert.
Wait.
Jesus, you're an idiot, Tyrion.
Bamboozled again.
Tyrion.
Mr. Cuthbert, did you forget that you were prosecuting Beatrice Frega?
Your Honor, even as a prosecutor, it's clear that Cuthbert just can't stop himself from finding the true culprit.
Wait, I also meant to say that the defendant conspired with the witness to commit the crime.
You should have led with that, sweetheart.
I should have. Absolutely, yes.
Oh, really?
I'm a bit of an idiot.
And do you have any proof of this conspiracy to commit?
Of
course you don't.
Mother.
But even so...
But let's assume that you did have evidence to prove your statement. If this was really a plot formed by my client and the witness, what would my client even contribute to this plan? From what you said, this plot was completely carried out by Lord Haroldson and his familiar.
Well, the glass.
He would have needed a powerful mage like the defendant to break the sword's display case and stage the robbery.
You're fumbling.
I am fumbling, yes.
So her contribution to the murder was breaking some glass. Can you prove that my client shattered the display case? And can you prove that she did so knowing that it would somehow lead to her father's death? You might have gotten a little too eager to prove Harold's guilt.
Oh, you dummy.
The physical evidence against my client was almost non-existent in the first place. And meanwhile, it seems the prosecution has just brought forward physical evidence that implicates Lord Haroldson. Physical evidence that is supported by his own testimony.
There has to be some explanation for this.
Cuthbert, didn't you ask me something yesterday? If my client didn't kill the victim, then who did? I suppose I should thank you for finding the answer. Damn it. All you did was make it more difficult to prove your case.
Why am I so good at this?
But Harold has to be involved in this. You weren't wrong about that. Only Eugene would be small enough to traverse the air vents. So isn't there anything else you can use? With the threat of indictment, Harold must be stressed. It's gotten you out of tight spots before. Maybe you can find the evidence in his mind. You can use every trick you have, Cuthbert. It won't help you. Ignore her. Calm your mind and focus the Eye of Horus on him. You have to find something, anything that might tie the murder to Beatrice. Okay.
Where do we begin?
The sword?
Seems like a good place to start. I can't believe that one of my artifacts was used to commit a murder. It's completely disrespectful to the culture and history behind it.
Speaking as if he truly had no hand in this. But that can't be true, can it? That gave us a nice chunk of insight.
Well, it was a rather important conclusion to come to.
Let's look at the armbands, which were also stolen.
The armbands of intellect are still missing. I inspected it closely before the Lord's Ball. They were still there when I moved them to the Frega Manor. Someone must have stolen it during the ball.
Right. You never did find what happened to the armbands. Could there seriously have been a second thief here? Aw, that didn't help me any.
Not yet. Sir, tell me about your monkey. How's that monkey 20 years old?
We don't know how old Harold is.
He's a Time Lord, it's fine. Eugene, just what were you doing that night? Did you really wield the sword, if only for a brief moment?
Wait, he should have known exactly where Eugene was that night. Why would his thoughts say that?
Listen, I may be my monkey's keeper, but I never said I was good at it.
Eugene's a familiar, it's fine. What, that he's 20 years old? I guess.
I mean, I'm just baffled that he is that old, considering he's also that small.
The lockdown system?
Young Tyrion's argument makes sense. I couldn't have heard Eugene when the lockdown was active. What's going on here?
Oh, poo. Familial bond?
No, that's just going to give us more about Eugene.
Okay.
Did you probe him about his security yet?
I didn't. I should do that.
I was wondering why you just skipped over that. No, not one, but 2 artifacts were stolen during the Lord's Ball. I never expected anyone to completely bypass my security like that.
What? He's speaking as if he truly had no hand in this. But that can't be true, can it?
What else?
I don't think Tracker's testimony would
Probably
give us
not.
anything.
There's got to be something we're not thinking. Maybe...
The vents?
Maybe something else in profiles?
William?
You know... William. It's a shame that things ended up this way. I truly hoped I could show you the value of Ravengard's history. Oh.
Beatrice?
It's truly a shame that Beatrice was driven to flee from her own family. If only I'd introduced myself to her. Perhaps we could have found a solution together.
He doesn't know Beatrice?
Also, what the fuck? He's so nice!
But how? She planned the murder with him.
Well, clearly not!
Unless... What? What's going on? He's speaking as if he really had no hand in this. And thinking as if he really had no hand in this.
Gee, I wonder if that means he had no hand in this!
You can guard yourself from the eye of Horus, but you can't lie to it. If that's true, were you wrong about Harold's involvement? Is he really innocent?
Yes!
See anything, Cuthbert? Your Honor, it's clear that the prosecution has nothing left to argue.
I might have my angry moments, but I just want to teach people about history. I'm like Bill Nye the Science Guy, but for old things.
There's very little evidence implicating my client, and there's a far more likely suspect in front of us right now.
Yes, I must agree, Miss Timora. At the very least, I see no reason to prolong this trial any longer. But wait!
God, you're so panicking. He's so panicking. Panic! Beatrice couldn't have personally done this. Discounting the fact that she's completely blind, she was with two princes for most of the night.
Ah yes, two princess.
Sorry. So who actually killed William Frega in his study with the letter opener?
Who gave Aster a super crown?
Think about this. The reason why you suspected Harold in the first place was because of what Tracker said.
Tracker's vocabulary is primitive and limited. He uses the word rat to describe small creatures that hide and act suspiciously.
But even if it wasn't an actual rat, it still couldn't have been human, right?
You're right. It would have been a small animal.
Not the secret Aster's been hiding from everyone.
Indeed, no. A small animal with the strength and dexterity to traverse a small air vent while holding a sword.
Tracker definitely saw some kind of animal. Was it someone else's familiar? Who did Tracker see in the air vent? Eugene Haroldson or another familiar.
Don't really think they needed the scroll wheel for this one.
Another familiar?
I'm not helping you.
No, it had to have been Eugene. Tracker found the sword in that hallway. And Eugene couldn't have communicated with Harold unless the sword protected both of them from the anti-magic field. But why? Did Eugene just happen to be in that hallway? That also doesn't explain why the sword of spell eating was even there. No, Tracker said that Eugene came out of the air vent on one side of the hallway. Then he fled into the air vent on the other side. Even for a small monkey, those vents would be extremely cramped. He wouldn't have entered those vents out of mere curiosity. Why was Eugene in the air vents? You know now that Harold didn't participate in the murder. Did he know about what Eugene was doing that night? Eugene was acting of his own free will. That's the explanation that makes the most sense.
Of course, a horrible little monkey was being a horrible little monkey.
But how? And why? Harold is the only person that is magically connected to Eugene. And even if Beatrice somehow got Eugene to follow her orders, he wouldn't have been able to direct his actions telepathically. Beatrice couldn't use any other conjuration spell to contact him either. She was also in the anti-magic field when she was with Aster. So if Eugene was the one who murdered William Frega, was he acting independently? No, that can't be possible. How could Eugene have carried out this plan independently? This plan required knowledge of Frega Manor's ventilation system. It also involved murdering William during the lockdown and destroying his will. Eugene might be smart for a monkey, but a normal monkey wouldn't have known how to identify and destroy William's will. Even if Beatrice had somehow trained him to do all this beforehand. Eugene, stole the armbands of intellect.
Eugene stole William.
That's called kidnapping.
Try war.
Oh, duh. Or the armbands of intellect. There we go. No, it couldn't be.
I discovered that the armbands of intellect have been stolen as well. And unlike the sword of spell eating, we still haven't found the armbands.
You look at the glass case where the armbands used to be.
Thief didn't shatter the glass.
Exactly. Moreover, the armbands were actually replaced with a very well-made replica. The magical locks on the case can be disabled.
How are they normally disabled?
They can be turned on and off using a spoken password.
How many people know this password?
Only myself. I personally oversee the transport of these items when they're moved.
Only Harold knows the password. But someone could have overheard him saying it.
Or learned it through a psychic link.
Oh no! Think of the power that monkey would have had! He'd have been so terrible!
No, horrible.
Horrible little monkey. Someone that's constantly looking over his shoulder.
I knew I should have gone to rehab. Get this monkey off my back.
You've made some ridiculous statements in the past. There's no way the judge will even entertain this story. I'd like to cross-examine the witness's pet monkey.
What? What?
Yeah, so y'all remember that case in Phoenix, right, where we cross-examined a parrot?
These parrots can talk!
You'll have to be smart about this.
Well, we're doomed.
We're doomed.
Your Honor, I think there's one more witness that can clear up this discrepancy once and for all. I believe he can prove the prosecution's case to the court.
Really? I frankly find that hard to believe.
Please trust me, Your Honor. There's an element to this that we all aren't seeing.
And it's one that no one will believe.
Why would they? It's like if Bill Murray just walked up to you in the middle of a Wendy's and stole a fry.
What do you have planned now?
True story, although not one of mine.
Very well, I'll give you one last chance, Mr. Cuthbert. But know that if your next witness fails to unveil any new information, I won't hesitate to end this trial.
If only you had some kind of accessory, preferably worn around one's wrist, that could artificially boost your intellect.
Well, I've got bad news. They're not on the monkey's wrists. I understand, Your Honor. So I'm going to need you to bear with me for a moment.
Why?
Your Honor, the defense calls Eugene Haroldson to the stand.
You mean the prosecution, sweetie pie?
This man is a disaster.
The defense most certainly does not.
I don't think that's...
Never mind, I retract my earlier statement. I'll be passing my verdict.
Wait! Just bear with me for a moment.
Mr. Cuthbert, I should find you in contempt for even suggesting this. Do you honestly think I'll allow a monkey to give testimony in my courtroom?
Yeah, it sounds pretty out there, even for us.
This is the part where we smash cut to him letting a monkey give testimony in his courtroom. I'd like to remind the court of the nature of Harold's bond with Eugene. Eugene is a familiar. This means that Harold Haroldson can speak with him telepathically. You alright over there?
No!
Neither
We're
am I.
going to cross-examine a monkey!
Monkey!
Well, this is absolutely...
Yes, it is. Celeste, you were supposed to be on my side on this.
Yeah, but You didn't tell me you were going to try to cross-examine the monkey.
Show me the law that says an animal can't give testimony, Your Honor. It may be unprecedented, but it's not against the law.
You know, nothing in the rules says that a dog can't play basketball. We're completely air-butting this.
I would give my eye teeth for just be dealing with an unusually athletic golden retriever right now. Oh yes, I'm pulling an airbud up in this bitch. Oh dear.
Don't you pull an airbud, Tyrion? Tyrion's pulling an airbud.
Very well.
Your Honor, you can't be serious right now. Are you actually going along with this?
Oh, Miss Tamura, I am looking for any possible reason not to entertain this. But Mr. Cuthbert has a point. There are no laws against his proposal. Perhaps this ought to set a precedent. So I suppose I must oblige his frankly insane actions for now.
Well, I guess it doesn't matter. It's not as if this will reveal anything.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but... Bailiff, please escort Lord Haroldson's monkey to the stand. Man. Sometimes I really love my job.
Witness, please state your name and occupation to the court.
Oh no,
The barely restrained laughter is in character, I imagine. I can't imagine that Ruby Tamura is doing this with a straight face.
I mean, look at that shit-eating grin.
I could do without the sarcasm, Miss Tamura. Eugene is Eugene! Eugene Monkton!
Bailiff, make sure the stenographer gets Haroldson's translations. You can't see the armbands on him right now. He must be at his normal intelligence now. Although, how would he even wear them?
Maybe it's a one-size-fits-all thing and they shrink?
Perhaps he held them in his hands. They only require physical contact, after all.
Yeah, true.
All the animals just talk like that.
They sure do, buddy. They sure do. Eugene, did you steal from the gallery on the night of the murder?
Eugene never steal from Harold! Eugene respect Harold!
Then you'll have no problem testifying about where you went during the Lord's Ball. I don't know if they're thick enough to hide a pair of armbands, but although nothing's impossible.
I can't believe I let you convince me to permit this. Eugene, explore house! Eugene, look for a new place to play! Eugene, also look for spiders! Spiders, yum yum! You think Eugene steal armbands of intellect? Eugene never steal from Harold! Harold, friend!
Please look at the adorable sad monkey.
Oh, he's a monkey.
Eugene always Harold's friend! Keep strong together!
You're a monkey! You don't get to pull a Planet of the Apes line? Wow, you did it, Cuthbert. You blew this case wide open.
I hate myself.
Is this really going to help us?
Look, you'll just have to trust me on this.
I trust you?
Love the vote of confidence, thanks.
That sentence sounds like it turned into a question at the end.
That was a fucking dirt monkey.
The judge is just mentally recalculating how many days he's got till retirement.
One more case. One more case after this one and I'm done.
Unfortunately, despite the hilarity, I immediately noticed something.
Yes?
We never asked him if he stole the armbands of intellect. We asked him if he stole something.
Yes. I wasn't accusing you of anything, Eugene. Perhaps you accidentally unlocked the case and took them thinking they were some sort of toy. This could all be an honest mistake.
Eugene, not dum-dum! Eugene know how important artifacts are to Harold. You did not take from him.
Okay.
Interpret. That's
Yes.
what I needed to hit. Wait a minute.
Eugene, I asked you before if you stole anything from Harold's gallery.
Eugene, no. Eugene would never steal from Harold.
Cuthbert, don't waste our time by having him repeat that statement.
I feel like I'm slowly slipping into Elmo, Eugene, and I think that's appropriate. That's the thing, Ms. Timora. That's not the same statement he made in his testimony. I asked the witness if he stole an artifact from the gallery. I never mentioned the armbands of intellect.
What are you talking about now? The witness lacks the understanding to differentiate between the artifacts. It was clearly just a simple mistake.
It's not just the fact that he named the wrong artifact, Ms. Timora. It's the fact that he used its actual name.
I'm afraid I don't understand what you mean, Mr. Cuthbert.
Your Honor, animals can't speak the same way that humans do.
I know, I talked to a dog earlier.
Even when a telepathic link is established, excuse
You
me,
okay?
little burp. Even when a telepathic link is established, their vocabulary, well, that was just me tripping on the word vocabulary. Their vocabulary is extremely limited. And apparently so is mine.
Right. Tracker called the sort of spell eating a stick before.
Stick? Where?
It was hard to understand what he really meant.
Exactly. So that raises the question. How did Eugene know they were called the armbands of intellect? Wait, how did he know?
Wait, how did he know? The armbands were stolen during the Lord's Ball and replaced with a well-made replica. Where are the armbands of intellect right now? If he had worn the armbands when he was sneaking through the vents, he would have never had the opportunity to put them back. And the armbands are still missing. Eugene is wearing the armbands at this moment. It can't be. Is he really? The armbands were designed to be worn by humans, so Eugene couldn't wear them on his arms. So where would he wear them? You initially thought he carried them in his hands, but there's a far simpler explanation.
Eugene, do you still maintain that you didn't steal the armbands of intellect?
Eugene told you already. You did never steal from Harold.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I should have been doing that this whole time. Then I suppose you wouldn't mind taking off your hat. Dun-dun.
Are you serious right now? You don't think he's wearing them right now, do you?
It's the only thing that makes sense. The armbands were taken on the night of the murder, and they're still missing. If Eugene did indeed steal the armbands that night, he would have never had the opportunity to return them. He had no choice but to continue wearing them until the investigation was over.
This is absolutely ridiculous. You're spinning a fairy tale. Do you honestly expect us to believe that a monkey increased its intellect beyond human limits?
If I'm wrong, the witness can easily refute my theory by removing his hat. Well, what's it gonna be, Eugene?
You see him fully break character, and he slowly but silently lifts his hat. No, you can't be serious. Everyone can see it plainly. He's wearing the armbands like a crown around his tiny head. From out of his hat, you see him pull out something else.
Well done, Mr. Cuthbert. I shouldn't have underestimated you.
Yes! This was the second moment I was like, I have to get this freaking game.
You?
Serious?
Yeah, this is probably a blessing in disguise. I don't think I could bear debasing myself any longer.
Objection! Objection, Your Honor!
On what grounds, Miss Timora? Horrible little smart monkey! With a pipe!
On what grounds? Thing about this situation is objectionable. It's downright absurd. Is he seriously Beatrice's accomplice?
Someone let slip the mask. but Miss Timora,
You got her flustered enough to drop that.
We can't deny what's clearly in front of us.
Oh, this funky fresh Gatsby.
Oh, yes. Who knew horrible little monkeys had so much in the pocket? Oh,
I was not ready for today.
Oh, honey, nobody was ready for today.
How is he even talking right now?
Scholars believe that humans and apes evolved from a common ancestor. Perhaps all apes can speak the common language under the right circumstances. Evolved? Please, I've observed your society. I think calling humanity evolved is being quite generous.
This can't be happening.
Well, are you all done gawking at me like a bunch of simpletons?
Simpletons?
Wait a minute.
it's quite difficult to separate myths from actual historical accounts.
Right. I remember encountering a similar problem at the Imperial Academy.
Ah, you must be quite dedicated to your studies.
They let this simpleton into the Imperial Academy.
Rude, but you suppose that can't be helped. Every insulting thought that you've seen from Harold, they weren't Harold's thoughts at all. They were Eugene's thoughts. He's been wearing the armband since you first met.
Yes! I still don't understand. Why would you even take the armbands in the first place?
I'll admit that the Lord's Ball was one of many occasions. The first time I touched them was due to sheer chance.
You put them on by accident?
My unawakened self was enamored by its glittering sheen.
I merely wanted to touch them, but when I first held them in my hands, I experienced a sense of clarity that I had never felt before. I was afraid of what I'd experienced, so I left them alone. But as I returned to my primitive lifestyle, I couldn't stop thinking about what I felt that day. You were hooked.
I wouldn't quite phrase it like that, but I suppose you're not wrong. I already knew the password to Harold's vault, so I'd come in from time to time and indulge in the armband's power. But the more time I spent with my awakened intellect, the more I craved its power when I had to put them away.
And that's when you made the replica.
While no one was watching, I devised a plan to discreetly take the armbands. Harold would have eventually discovered they were stolen, but he would have concluded that a noble from the Lord's Ball took them.
Because of the pressure that he was receiving from the crown.
I'm not proud of what I've done, but I never expected things to reach this point. I didn't expect someone to steal the sword of Spennything as well. And I certainly didn't expect a murder to happen that night.
So you still maintain that you're innocent?
Of course I do. I stole the armbands, but I did not murder William Frega, nor did I take the sword of Spennything. Allow me to elaborate.
Please do.
Consider the following. Bitch. I'll admit that I took the armbands and replaced them with a replica, but I was not the crook who stole the sword of Spelled. The thefts were completely different from one another. The display case for the sword was completely shattered. I spotted the sword when I was exploring the manor. It was lying in the middle of a hallway. I wondered why such an important artifact would be lying there, so I took a closer look to inspect it. That's when I heard Harold call out to me telepathically. The sword must have protected me and Harold from the anti-magic field. I wanted to take the sword and return it, but a wild dog chased me away from the scene.
He has a point. He didn't need to shatter the display case of the sword.
Yeah, he already knew the passwords.
The tracker said that Eugene was the one who dropped the sword. Furthermore, he escaped into the air vent that led into William's study. His actions that night were definitely not as innocent as his testimony implies. He must have lied somewhere.
Where?
There's something I know that I want to bring up, but it's going to be jumping the shark a bit, so I'll keep a lid on it for right now.
For the best.
Let me look at what evidence we have again real quick.
I feel like Tragger's testimony would be relevant here.
Mm-hmm.
Brought it back to Beatrice's room.
Mm-hmm.
He said it was lying in the middle of the hallway.
Yeah. And it wasn't being carried by anything. It was just laying in the hallway.
Mm-hmm.
Objection.
Eugene, I'm sure you're well aware of this, but the best way to lie is to hide a false detail within many truths. And what are you trying to insinuate, Mr. Cuthbert? You said that you were heading from the terrace to the gallery. Did you take any detours? Of course not. With the armbands nullified, my intelligence was slowly fading. I wanted to return to Harold as soon as possible. Witness, I'd like for you to take a look at this floor map of Frega Manor. This is the location where that wild dog found the sword of spell eating. So tell me, Eugene, how did you spot the sword of spell eating? When it was hidden in the hallway north of Beatrice's room. That's...
Why are you nitpicking such an insignificant statement? He probably just got distracted and went down the wrong hallway.
Miss Timora, Eugene came from the rooftop garden, and he was adamant that he went directly to the gallery to reunite with Harold. Even if his intellect was muddled, he was intent on reuniting with his worried companion. He definitely took the direct route. But if he did, he never would have been able to see into that hallway. I see your point, Mr. Cuthbert. What does this mean? It means that the witness lied about where he was before he discovered the sword of spell eating. He wasn't coming from the rooftop garden. He came from the air vents in that specific hallway. Whoa! So why were you in that hallway, Eugene? You lied in your testimony. Was it because you wanted to hide what you were really doing that night? I never. Admit it, Eugene. You snuck through the air vents to avoid detection. Then you used the air vent in that hallway to break into William's study. After that, you murdered him using his letter opener, didn't you? That's not what I went there to do.
But you went there.
No. I didn't mean...
Bonk.
Order! Order in the court! Witness, is this true? Did you break into William Frega's study during the lockdown? Yes. I did enter his study, but not for the reason you think. William Frega was already dead when I got there.
What?
What did you just say? It's true. Do you honestly expect us to believe a story like that? How could someone else have killed the victim before you got there? Tracker took the sword of spell eating, and you were the only intelligent creature that could walk through the air vents. I understand how unbelievable and suspicious it sounds, but you think I lied in the first place? But it's the truth, Mr. Cuthbert. To believe me.
You don't see any contradiction. Excuse me. You don't see any contradicting thoughts through the eye, but that hardly absolves him of guilt. Could he really be telling the truth? If that's true, that only brings you back to the one question you've been asking since this all began.
What the fuck is going on?
Who really did this?
Oh. Yeah, fair enough.
And also, what the fuck is going on?
What the fuck is going on? What the fuck is going on? Okay, Eugene, let's assume you're telling the truth. Do you actually believe me? Let's not get ahead of ourselves. You're still my only suspect for this. But I know better than anyone about jumping to conclusions. So I'll give you the benefit of the doubt for now. I see. However, if you want to absolve yourself, I need you to tell me about what you really saw that night. There might be something, anything, that might point to who really did this. Very well. I'll tell you what I saw. Although, I doubt you'll believe me.
I'm literally interviewing a monkey right now.
I discreetly made my way to that hallway through another air vent. I exited the air vent in that hallway and tried to leap to the other side. I'm not sure if it was my waning intelligence or my desperation, but I collided with something that I didn't see. I fell to the ground and found the sword of spell-eating laying next to me. I wanted to retrieve the sword, but that wild dog forced me to retreat. I continued to make my way to the study. And that's when I found William Frega. He was dead on the floor and lying in a pool of blood. And as if I were blessed by the Scaled Lord himself, I found the will that he was crafting. So I destroyed it. Frankly, Mr. Haroldson, I find that story very difficult to believe. Oh, please, Mr. Haroldson's my familiar. Master? What does a familiar call his other... Is it a familiar thing, or a... Well, you get the idea.
Well, Tracker referred to life as queen, so I would assume master would be.
Yes. Very well. Mr. Haroldson's my master. Please, Harold. I assumed as much, but you know what they say. Truth is stranger than fiction.
Isn't it
Says the monkey smoking a pipe.
Isn't it more likely that you murdered the victim? You're clearly trying to cover up what you did by saying that he was already dead. Honestly, I really don't know what to think. Is he really telling the truth? I'm checking what evidence I have real quick.
I believe that one.
This one?
Yeah.
No, we want the modified.
There it is.
We want to present that?
Perhaps.
Okay, the music did not stop.
Okay.
We were incorrect.
My bad. Perhaps I'm jumping the gun a bit. Yada yada. Do we not have anything stating where things were kind of between...
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for, because there's a thing that...
it's not going to be that.
Not going to be
Or
the
that.
autopsy. It
No.
was... I'm looking
To be
for-
fair, I I also would not be the sort of person to be... Yeah, I would not respond, I would not respond to seeing a monkey brandishing its sword in my room with, "Who are you? What do you want?" No. Maybe we don't have any hard evidence on Harold Haroldson. Or, his connection. He might be not of the inheritance.
Yeah, I was gonna say it had been rumored, hadn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Where?
Worst.
Whamst! Actually, what background? Flying rat. Flying rat. Monkeys don't fly.
Mhm. But what are you going to do if I'm lying? Throw me in jail? Show me the lovers. It's illegal for a monkey to lie.
What are you going to do if I'm lying? Throw me in jail? Give me the law where it says it's illegal for a monkey to lie in court. I don't know why I really don't know why my Eugene sounds like an odd combination of Vincent Price and Stewie Griffin.
Nope, that was not it either.
Maybe we're barking up the wrong tree here.
Maybe we need to press some things first.
That makes sense. Fighting with something he didn't see is interesting.
Yeah, press that?
I thought monkeys were extremely dexterous. Are you just clumsy? I have impeccable dexterity.
Sounds like you struck a nerve there.
I must have been muddled from losing the armbands net. Or not.
So you didn't have the sword with you?
How did you know it was the sword of spell eating? Oh great, his face is stuck like that. When I held it in my hands, I felt my intelligence return. But I also heard Harold calling out to me telepathically. He was clearly growing worried, so I knew I needed to move quickly. I mean, at this point, we might as well just press everything, but, So you were the one who took the will. I've been trying to find it. What did it say? I was pressed for time, so I didn't read the entire document. But I found an order to his executor to fund the Haroldson Hall of History. Since he went out of his way to specify that on the current copy, I concluded that his former will didn't have this in it. So you could save Harold's museum by making sure it never got submitted for probate. Do you have the will with you? My apologies. I crumpled up the will into a ball and ate it. I then left the room before my intelligence was completely gone. You ate? I could have it back for you, but you'll have to give me a couple more hours. Or some Chipotle.
Ugh. You were really hoping to see if William followed through on his threat to disinherit Beatrice. He seems to be telling the truth this time.
I agree, but we still need to be sure.
You should carefully inspect and press each of the statements.
Yep, that's what I thought. Gotta press them all.
Okay.
But why were you there in the first place? It all began when William Frega got into an argument with Harold. That cur wanted to defund the prestigious Haroldson Hall of History. I knew a man like William probably had many secrets, so I devised a plan to break into his study and find something that I could use to blackmail him. As you know, there's a small air vent in that hallway, and it connected to William's study on the ground floor. I wasn't aware that William was planning to stay at his study all night, so I thought I could look through his documents without anyone seeing me.
You suppose that does make sense.
Unless I'm not a horrible, invisible monkey.
But is he really telling the truth? What happened when you tried to leap to the other air vent, Eugene?
Yes,
present invisibility. No?
Good thought.
Damn!
You're jumping the gun a bit. Did this wild dog have a white coat of fur? Ooh, he did. Are you acquainted with him? Something like that. Well, next time you meet him, tell him that I don't appreciate being called a rat. I'm a proud orangutan. You can understand him?
Of course, they're both...
Also, you're not an orangutan, you have a tail. I've picked up a little of the canine language throughout my life. I'm also fluent in squirrel and pigeon. I can also speak owl, but I admit it's barely conversational.
As much as you want to test the validity of those claims, they're not relevant to the case.
Ooh.
What happened when you entered the study? Press that. It seems awfully convenient that he was murdered before you arrived.
I know how it may seem, but I'm telling you the truth. Right? 20-year-old orangutan, that small, with a tail? Hold the other one, pal.
That bell's on.
And do you have any explanation for how the assailant broke into the study without the sword? I unfortunately do not.
Please, it's obvious your testimony doesn't match up with the evidence. Whoever did this either entered through the vents, or they used the sword to nullify the lock. And your own testimony states that the sword was abandoned in that hallway. It doesn't match up with what you thought happened, but does it really contradict the evidence you have?
So what did you do when you discovered the body? Well, I knew it was only a matter of time before someone discovered the body, so I quickly searched the room for something I could use. Or poop.
It's hard to
Eat,
believe.
and then poop.
It's hard to believe, but you can't see any direct contradictions. Should you press him more? But what if he's telling the truth? If Eugene did do this, your next course of action is clear. Although, that still wouldn't explain how Beatrice fits into this. You recall something that Tracker said to you.
Tracker, you said you had to smell to see where the rat was? And when he dropped his stick, you were finally able to see him. Does this mean you couldn't visually see him before he fell down?
Yeah, Tracker couldn't see the rat with his eyes, so Tracker used his nose to see it.
Eugene was invisible!
Invisible monkey, or not. Eugene, when you were carrying out your plan, did you turn yourself invisible somehow? No. I hardly had the means to. And even if I had somehow convinced Harold to cast a spell on me, he doesn't know how to cast invisibility. Very few mages do.
Right. You recall Eris saying the same thing during the Nightgrave trials. Only a master of illusion magic could do that. That's how you first thought Beatrice was involved. But if Eugene is truly innocent, did she turn someone else invisible? But if that's true, you're back right where you started again. Okay, and this was where I wanted to hold off because I was jumping the shark. Because Tracker mentioned both a flying rat and a jumping rat.
This is getting out of hand. Now there are two of them.
Yeah, flying is not jumping, and the fact that Tracker specified made me think.
Perhaps there is second rat.
No, think through this. Eugene's testimony fills in a blank that's been missing.
I fell to the ground and found the sword of spell eating laying next to me. How did you know it was the sword of spell eating? Well, when I held it in my hands, I felt my intelligence return. But I also heard Harold calling out to me telepathically. He was clearly growing worried, so I knew I needed to move more quickly. I wanted to retrieve the sword, but the wild dog forced me to retreat. After that, I continued to make my way to the study.
And what happens when you cross-reference that with Tracker's testimony?
That's when Tracker smelled flying rat. Tracker could smell where Rat was, so Tracker barked at him. Tracker must have scared Rat, because he fell onto the floor and dropped his stick.
How did the sword of spell eating end up in that hallway? So where does that lead us? The thief dropped the sword in the hallway. The thief dropped the sword in that hallway. But how does that make sense? Did they hide the sword there like you originally thought? No, that hallway was close to the gallery. There were plenty of better places to hide the sword. If it weren't for Tracker taking it, it would have been found even sooner. The thief must have accidentally dropped the sword there. This can only mean one thing. Why was the thief in that hallway?
Yeah, there she is.
The
She
thief
got it in
was
one.
sneaking through the air vents.
Bada boom.
The thief was also sneaking through the air vents.
Right.
That's the only reason why they would be there. But that would imply that the thief was as small as Eugene.
Mm-hmm.
Could it have been another familiar? And if so, why didn't Eugene notice them? Wait,
I'm not sure if it was my waning intelligence or my desperation, but I collided with something that I didn't see.
he collided with something he didn't see. In other words, it was something that wasn't visible to him. And as a master of illusion magic, Beatrice is one of the few people at the ball that could cast invisibility. Beatrice would never trust anyone enough to work together like this.
But she's completely blind. She wouldn't have much of a choice.
Even so, she's not the type of person to trust her accomplice to stay quiet. She'd find a way to carry out a plan herself, and she'd only employ someone else's help if she had full control of them. Have you been approaching this situation incorrectly the entire time?
Might have been.
Through the eye, you knew that Beatrice was involved somehow, but you just assumed that she was one part of a larger plot. The breaking of the glass and the casting of invisibility. These were the elements that you knew she was involved with.
Oh, casting invincibility.
But
Downright fucking broken.
it never really fit together. Not unless she was the one pulling the strings the entire time. And there's only one way she could be in control the entire time. What did Beatrice use to commit the murder?
Whoop, there it is.
A couple of memories flood into your mind.
A familiar is a creature that a mage has formed a magical contract with. With that contract, our souls are bonded. I can speak with him telepathically. I could even see through his eyes and cast my spells through him if I wanted to. Really? I never knew a spell like that existed. Well, it's quite rare. Very few mages take the time to learn how to cast it. Hi, I'm Tyrion Cuthbert. I'm Miss Timora's, ward.
You extend out your hand to shake hers. She has an aristocratic air to her, so you hope you're not being too informal. Instead of taking your hand, she claps her hands together and takes a deep breath.
What?
Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. It's a bit of a habit of mine.
Oh.
Nevertheless, she finally shakes your hand.
Oh, it's a shame she does have a sweet smile.
I've heard much about you, Mr. Cuthbert. My name is Beatrice. You didn't know that she was blind back then, so you barely even noticed it. But how did she know that you were holding out your hand?
Well, do you have any other questions for me?
If you're wrong about this, Beatrice will surely be acquitted. And after that, the Inquisition will turn their attention to Harold and Eugene. But there's only one way to know for sure.
Your Honor, the prosecution has no further questions for the current witness. He is dismissed.
What?
I see.
You have something else planned, don't you?
Yeah. And I actually need your help.
Really? You tell her about your plan. Really? Wouldn't the Inquisition check for something like that?
I know. But it's the best play we have. Do you remember what Steelwind said yesterday?
But the moment the guards saw the body, one of them cast Detect Magic. With that spell, they would have seen any invisible people hiding in this room.
Wait, you can use Detect Magic like that?
Right, I never quite figured what struck me about the handshake, but yeah, she couldn't have seen his hand extended on her own.
And then, of course, there was that "you don't look too good" comment.
Yeah, you don't look well. Of course, it's standard procedure. Like all spells, invisibility leaves traces of magic on the person it's cast on. So mages can use Detect Magic as a way to see through invisibility.
If everything goes the way I think it will, you'll be able to confirm its location. Once you do that, you just need to reveal it to everyone.
Alright, I'll follow your lead then.
So, Mr. Cuthbert, how do we proceed? Your previous witness brought about more revelations than I could have ever guessed. However, you still haven't given a substantial explanation about how the murder occurred or who actually did it.
I understand that, Your Honor. But it will all make sense after I call my next witness.
Another witness?
Oh, are we choppy right now? Oh no.
Oh, are we... Fuck's sake. All the timing.
How do fix?
What do fix?
Audio's fine for some reason?
Okay, it's
Okay.
doing the thing it's usually doing. This might be a YouTube problem. Again.
It's, and of course the YouTube streaming thing is
Useless.
entirely unhelpful, because all it says is there's an error.
This is why we're migrating to Twitch. Oh, it's okay again.
It's okay again? Alright.
If you're sure. Granted, we haven't been doing much in the way of, like, moving anything forward.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Oh, there we go.
there
Connection
we
came back.
go. Much better.
Alright.
Okay, so it was...
Now we may
just-
proceed.
Yeah, it was just some kind of hiccup.
Another witness?
I understand your hesitance, Your Honor, but everything that we've learned throughout these trials is finally coming together. And this final witness will tie it all together in a perfect knot.
Though your delay has grown way worse.
Uh,
Freaking...
this is why we're switching to Twitch.
I wonder... Can I stop the stream and restart it?
I think so?
Okay, let me see.
This isn't exactly my territory, mind you. Yeah, I think I'm with Z on this one. It probably is just an issue with the platform, and so long as our connection's still good, we'll just
Okay.
have to live with the delay.
Yeah. Sorry about that. This is why we are switching after this game.
Mm-hmm. I already have said this.
Apologies.
Your Honor, the prosecution calls Beatrice Frega to the stand. What?
Seriously, Cuthbert? You went to all that trouble just to end up calling my client to the stand?
You and your client have the right to refuse, Miss Timura.
And legally speaking, you should.
And legally speaking, you should. But I wonder how that will reflect on your client's character.
It doesn't really matter. She's already standing here with Miss Tamora. You can carry out your plan regardless of what she decides to do. But it will have much more impact if you can bait her into lying on the stand. My client says that she's willing to testify. However, we would like to propose a short recess. With these new developments, I'm sure you can understand that we have much to discuss.
I see no reason not to grant the defense's request.
I do.
Is this really okay? If we give them time to prep, they might realize what we're doing.
I know, but I don't think we have anything to worry about.
You've been building a psychological profile of Beatrice since this case began. It's hard to read her expression and emotions, even with the Eye of Horus. She keeps herself guarded and keeps her true intentions unknown. She's powerful. More powerful than her father ever cared to admit.
Richard Nixon-looking motherfucker.
Despite this, he tried to control her and put her inside a cage. But Beatrice Frega would never live in a cage. She wanted freedom and control, and she would do whatever it took to get it. You're sure the accident that blinded her didn't help things. When everything was said and done, she abandoned everything. Her wealth, her status, her family. She could have waited. She could have gritted her teeth until it was her turn to lead House Frega. If she was willing, she could have even secretly pushed her father past the gates of death herself. But she couldn't bear to live like that, even temporarily. You have no idea why this is how she chose to do that. Perhaps it had something to do with their meeting. But you do know one thing. Beatrice Frega will never put herself in a position of vulnerability. If you endanger her freedom, she will make sure that she can see who she's up against.
In the interest of giving the defense time to deliberate, we will be taking an extended recess. Court is adjourned.
Bonk.
And on that note, switching to my second drink.
As you were exiting the courtroom, you sent Celeste to do some reconnaissance. It should be similar to when she scanned Valentina during the Nightgrave trial.
Tyrion!
Celeste, were you able to see it?
Yeah, it's definitely there. And it sits on her shoulder most of the time.
So she keeps it close to her. That's good to know.
It looks kind of weird, though. But I've never used detect magic like this before.
Well, you doubt that someone like her would choose a conventional animal, especially for something like this. Cuthbert?
Ms. Tamora.
There's something I need to show you.
Alright, this first.
Preferably alone. Celeste gives you a concerned look. You nod to show her it's okay.
Oh, good. The golem juice is still hot.
She moves to sit on the bench where she can keep an eye on Beatrice.
Okay, lead the way.
Yes, we will save our progress.
This will be a relatively brief interlude. That's the good news.
Miss Tamora leads you out of the courthouse and into the city. Every time you ask her where she's taking you, she avoids answering your question. All right, we're here. You arrive at an empty alley in the frankly seedier part of the city. As Miss Tamora approaches one of the derelict buildings, she's met with a large, burly man who's guarding the back door. The man silently acknowledges her and steps aside to let her in.
Miss Tamora, where are we going?
I'm sorry about this. I'm sure you're confused. But please trust me. I'll explain everything. Before you have a chance to ask for more information, she moves into the building. The man guarding the door looks at you expectantly. The entire situation doesn't sit right with you, but you still continue to follow her. Despite your recent disagreements, you know that you can trust her. Oh no, the ominously timed save button.
Oh, it's only going to get more ominous from here.
Z, when you catch up to this point, a thought just hit me. If you try refreshing the stream, it might help your delay.
Maybe.
Certainly can't hurt.
Probably.
As you head further into the building, you find yourself in a surprisingly well-furnished room. From how it looked outside, you would have never guessed that it would look like this. It almost looks like a room that you'd encounter in the Frega Manor. And this music! As you enter the room, you spot several mercenaries standing at various points in the room. And most surprisingly, you see Eris standing at the end of the room. You give her a confused look, but she simply smiles and waves at you. Sitting at a desk next to her, you see a man with an eye patch. It looks like he's been expecting you.
Ah, Timora.
Upon seeing you two, he cordially welcomes Ms. Timora before turning his attention to you.
And you must be Tyrion. Timora's told me a lot about you. I see, but who are you? I've been called many names over the years. My favourite has always been the Eye Taker. Like a boss. The Eye Taker. From the sounds of it, you've already heard of me. Miss Timora, what is this? My daughter Eris has told me all about your work prosecuting this case.
She's his daughter?
But I have to say, I'm quite impressed.
There we are!
So it would seem. Getting a monkey to testify. I don't think I could even pull off a grift like that. You've pretty much blown past my expectations. I get to the point.
As soon as you interrupt him, you feel every person in the room tense up. You don't even need the eye to know that your interruption put them on edge.
Relax, everyone. Kids will be kids. I'm a father myself, you know. Well, I'll get straight to the point. I have a certain interest in the outcome of this trial. What are you talking about? Our little lady Frega has been a client of ours for a long time. I've done quite a lot of favours for her. The time's finally come for me to collect. Those debts that Skillman mentioned. They all belong to me. But there's no need to worry, I know she's good for it. That is, if she can inherit House Frega. What? Timora's a good attorney, even without my help. If she's convicted, we could easily reduce the sentence by rubbing the right hands. But, you see, there's that pesky Slayer. Thing is, Cuthbert, I need Beatrice Frega to be acquitted in the current trial. So that's what this is about. House Frega's gold? That's why you helped her murder William Frega? Please, my goals aren't nearly so short-sighted. I have big plans. Not just for Beatrice, but for this entire kingdom. And I need House Frega for that. Just like you needed Justin Way.
Tyrion!
It's really a shame what happened to him. Don't act so innocent. He would have never tried to rob Dracodian if you didn't threaten him. Is that so? I think I just randomly showed up on his doorstep one day demanding gold? Yes! He was the one who came to me for help. I just told him to pay back what he owed. If he hadn't come to me, it would have been some other criminals. But that's beside the point. What about what I wanted from Justin? Let's talk about what I want from you. You want me to throw the case? I love this kid! I don't have to beat around the bush with this one. No one will doubt you, especially considering the amount of work you put into this already. You don't need to do anything. Just take a dive. And let someone else take the fall. No matter what happens, the court will blame someone for this. If it makes you feel better, I can assign some more to defend the old man and his monkey. That way everyone can come out of it somehow. Everyone wins.
He's pescily righteous, but at least he's smart.
He's pescally righteous, but at least he's smart. Except for the fact that a murderer will be put in charge of House Frega. Ah, please, this has to be worse than the people in charge of the other noble houses. If you recall, there's already a murderer in charge of Household Sanctus.
He do be right.
Ah, yes, so let's muddy the waters even further by having a second murderer in charge. That makes perfect sense.
I didn't say he was correct. He was correct morally.
They're all dirty. You've seen it, haven't you? They rig the system. They pay, threaten, or even kill people to get their way. All we're doing is leveling the playing.
Tyrion, please. Just listen to him.
How can you just go along with this?
I told you a long time ago that there were certain parts of my job that I couldn't tell you about. Well, this is it. This is what we need to do to beat them.
Those rumors about you. They're all true, aren't they? Forgery, bribery, blackmail. You're guilty of each and every one of them. And you used him to do it! Also, you could keep winning? You blackmailed Miriam, Miss Timora!
Oh, as if we should show any pity for that spoiled princess! A dreadful thought just entered your mind.
Steelwind. She was attacked the day after Beatrice was arrested. Was that...
I didn't know that's what they were planning.
Despite my confidence in Timora's skills, I'm afraid there was too much riding on this to leave to chance. You've got to make your own luck if you want to beat. How could you? She almost died! We never expected to strain her injuries like that. And we definitely didn't expect you to take her place. So believe me when I say I'm being uncharacteristically reasonable right now. How? How could you even consider working with someone like him? Don't you think it's a little arrogant to judge her, Cuthbert? What? You talk about defending people as if you two are even close to being equals. She doesn't have the luxury of looking into people's minds now, does she? You told him about the Eye of Horus? Future of magic is changing, kid. Like I said before, I have big plans for this kingdom. I also have big plans for you. You think I would ever...
Tyrion, stop! To be honest, I hate it as much as you do. But whether you like it or not, we need their help.
But this is...
Think about every client you defended. Think of Celeste. If you didn't have the Eye of Horus, what would have happened to her? If even one thing went differently, Pierce would have gotten away and Celeste would have been executed. You've taken chances and followed your instincts, and that's worked for you so far. But what if it's not enough? What if the system is too corrupt for you to fight against next time? With the Eye Taker's help, you'll never have to worry about that again. If I had accepted his help sooner, I could have saved your mother.
So, what's it gonna be, kid? You already know about what happened to that Steelwind brat. So I don't need to tell you what will happen if you don't play one.
Wait!
No. What? Maybe you're right. Maybe I can't always win in battle against the nobility unless I play dirty like they do. But this is wrong!
Tyrion!
I'm not going to compromise my principles. Not even for you, Miss Timora. Sorry to hear you say that, kid. I really am.
With one motion of his hand, every mercenary in the room draws their weapons. Please, you don't have to do this! Whatever conviction you had before is slowly fading. You should have never entered this place. You knew something was off. There are about a dozen mercenaries here, and there's even more guarding the way out. You're nowhere near as physically strong as Celeste, but maybe you can make a break for it, if you get lucky. No! Ace!
Well, there were more outside.
Celeste? What in the... How did you get in here?
My whole job is keeping this guy safe. Do you honestly think I'd just let you take him to an undisclosed location?
That's our girl!
Doesn't matter. As if one girl will make a difference. Well, what are you all waiting for?
Is that really her?
Upon seeing Celeste, the mercenaries cautiously step back. No one wants to make the first move.
This monstrous aura. It has to be her.
What in the hell are you doing? You have us surrounded.
Despite his command, no one takes a step forward. Look, let's all just sit down and talk about this rationally.
Perhaps a different approach is warranted here, Father.
What?
Have the opportunity to speak with Mr. Cuthbert? I
There we go.
believe I can make him see things our way.
I'm sorry, sweet.
We don't have 15 to 1 odds. We'll never stand a chance.
Well, considering they're the one.
Well, you've never been wrong before. I'll leave him to you, love.
Shall we go, you two?
Celeste silently watches Eris with her sword drawn. But unlike the mercenaries, Eris seems unmoved. She merely walks past her and out the exit. You and Celeste exchange glances and follow after her.
I mean, to be fair, you can't kill a goth with edge.
That was close. I don't think I could have fought that whole room while protecting you.
Does that mean she could have fought them if she were alone?
You two are really courageous to a fault, aren't you?
Eris, I appreciate you vouching for us, but I'm not changing my mind about this.
Oh, I'm well aware of that. Why do you think I intervened?
Oh, well, thank you.
Is this really okay? Won't your dad be mad? I should be asking Tyrion that same question. You've seen your adoptive mother's true colors and rejected them. How are the two of you going to move forward?
She's not my...
Isn't she, though? She lost any right to deny it the moment she took it upon herself to raise you.
We did that because I asked her to. Wasn't her choice.
She still could have said no.
I mean...
It would have been a dick move, but she still could have said no.
I mean...
Oh, but it was. How old were you when your real mother was executed? 10 years old?
Eris!
Back then you barely knew Tamora. It would be a stretch to even call her a family friend. She was the adult in that situation. And what did she do? She fed your anger and hatred for the nobility, instead of allowing you to process your grief healthily. Tamora took you away from your only friends, and isolated you from society. She even homeschooled you, didn't she?
That's...
As a result, you never formed any other relationships. You made your first close friend at the age of 20, and she was your client. Don't you think that's a bit sad?
That is really fucking sad, actually. Regardless, Ruby did kind of make him completely dependent on her.
She isolated you because she wanted to use you.
Yes, she is creepily accurate.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true. That's not why she...
From what I've seen today, You clearly have no idea who Tamura is. Even with the Eye of Horus, you're clearly a terrible judge of character.
Eris, you're going way too far!
To save you from more heartache, let me give you one last piece of advice.
Eris leans in really close to you and begins to whisper into your ear.
Do you honestly think Celeste will ever love you?
What?
I'm sure you understand now. Tamora can only afford to pay her exorbitant salary because of my father. You've already burned that bridge. So where do you think the Crimson Demon will go when you can't afford her services anymore?
No. She's not.
With Flintheart dead, she has to worry about her mother. Do you think she has the luxury of playing around with you for free? Or did you actually think that she enjoys spending time with you? Tyrion, you have to look at this rationally. Any support or affection that she's given you has only been to keep you as an employer.
You seem to know a lot about these things.
I had to do a lot of networking when I was a mercenary. Do you know how many times I had to charm a merchant into hiring me?
Why are you doing this?
Because
I want to finally break you. I'm just trying to keep you from getting hurt. It may seem cruel, but you have to be realistic about these things.
Having some trouble with impulse control, Eris.
Trusted Tamora, and she betrayed you. Try not to make the same mistake twice.
Celeste didn't hear anything she said, but she seems to notice how it's affecting you. Eris, that's enough!
My apologies. I've been told that I've been too blunt sometimes. But I do hope you'll think about what I said.
Thank you for completely killing the mood.
Pointing out that she's toxic!
Well, yes.
She's had a lot of problems with impulse control for a while now, but that power of hers is really handy with sweeping it under the rug.
Good thing all teenagers don't have that ability.
The trial should be starting soon. We should make our way back to the courthouse. I'm genuinely curious to see how this trial ends.
Oh, I'm sure you are.
Hey, Tyrion? Are you okay? What did she say to you? She reaches for your hand, but you instinctively yank it away from hers.
Hey, no, bad boy.
Tyrion?
Stop being stupid. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to. I'm okay, really.
Okay.
Is he mad at me?
You can think about everything else
Oh,
later.
how could you be mad at your face?
But for now, you know what you need to do. You need to convict Beatrice Frega.
Priorities.
Court is now resumed for the trial of Beatrice Frega.
Here we go!
Oh, you all are about to see why I came packing the Gollum juice tonight. Is the defendant prepared to take the stand? Tamora, I asked you a question.
Ooh, dropping the Miz! He has really burned that bridge.
Is the defendant prepped or not?
She is. if the prosecution still wants to move forward with...
The prosecution will be moving forward with this. Please bring in the witness. You still see it, Celeste?
Yeah, it's still there. Should I reveal it now?
No. Let's really make a point of it. Wait for my signal. Thank you for agreeing to take the stand, Miss Frega.
Mr. Cuthbert?
It's my understanding that you were with the two princes for most of the night.
Yes, I was. Which is why I'm still quite confused as to why I'm being charged for this crime. Out of everyone there that night, I'd have thought my alibi was the most solid.
That remains to be seen.
Clearly.
Right. Well, my slightly insensitive phrasing aside, since you still maintain your innocence, you'll have no problem going into detail about your supposed alibi.
As you know, I was with Crown Prince Aster and Prince Alaric for most of the ball. I went there after my meeting with my father, and I remained with them until I was arrested for his murder. Lord Steelwind and the King's Guard kept watch over me for the entire night as well. I neither had the means nor the opportunity to steal the Sword of Spell-Eating and break into my father's study to murder him. I didn't even do it.
And that, Miss Frega, is where you're mistaken. You definitely had the means to commit both crimes while under the eye of everyone there that night.
The most effective tool an attorney has is revealing a contradiction in a witness's testimony. It not only completely shatters your opponent's argument, it also makes the court doubt whether the witness is acting in good faith. Usually you've used evidence to reveal contradictions like this.
Now, Celeste!
Apurio! Wait, what are you doing?
Hey? Your Honor, the witness's testimony is clearly...
Oh my god, what the hell is that thing? Tyrion, get behind me!
A monster! It's a monster!
Someone call the Inquisition! The King's Guard! Anyone!
Ghostbusters! Your Honor, could you please restore order? Your Honor?
It's just a nail!
He just left.
We're gonna have to release a supercut of just funny moments out of this series, aren't we?
I think we're gonna have to.
It's gonna be almost as long as the series itself, but... Yeah, he fled out the back door the moment he saw me.
It can talk?
It's a demon! It must be!
It's just like the legends say!
Can we all just calm down?
It takes a while before you can get everyone in the room to settle down. Can the bailiff please retrieve the judge?
Someone's gonna have to retrieve me. And my brown pants.
Nope, I'm just one case from retirement. I'm not sticking around with that thing.
Eventually it was clear that the demon wasn't intent on harming anyone. At least not yet.
Funny thing about those Urquos.
The court ordered extra guards just in case, and you're eventually able to bring everyone back to the courtroom.
Mr. Cuthbert, what is the meaning of this? Sorry, I didn't know it was a... Actually, what are you? Are you a demon? Why, yes. I am a demon.
Demons actually exist?
I thought they were only a legend.
Your Honor, not only do demons exist, the defendant has made one into her familiar. She's only blind in the literal sense. She's constantly looking through the eyes of her familiar to see.
And?
What do you mean, and? It's pretty obvious that making a pact with a demon is incriminating by itself. Hey, don't be racist.
Tell me, Your Honor, do the laws of Wibengard prohibit entering in accord with a demon?
They don't, but...
Then my client has committed no crime.
Yes, about that. I'm thinking we might need to establish a precedent for that.
Even so, I really would have preferred not revealing Maranath like that.
Maranath. Is that your name?
It is what most people call me.
Well, I suppose you have a point, Tamora. Having a demon as your familiar isn't technically illegal. However, this does prove that the defendant had a way to commit the murder all well under the eye of everyone in the ballroom.
Also, it is what we say in the business, not a good look.
Yeah, the optics ain't great on this one.
First new law.
First new law, no demons, period. Second law, that monkey's in court.
She could have sent Maranath upstairs to the gallery and then had him steal the Sword of Spell Eating. After that, they would just need to pervert the events into William's study, just like Eugene did that night.
The fact that her familiar is a demon proves that she couldn't have done that.
What do you mean?
You saw how everyone reacted when they saw Maranath's form. A monkey may have raised some eyebrows, but someone surely would have reported Maranath if they had seen him.
Tamora, your client is a master of illusion magic. Can I assume that we'll find invisibility in her spell compendium?
You might.
And with the connection granted by familial bond, she could have cast the spell on him regardless of where each of them was.
I'll admit that my client does know how to cast invisibility. But your theory raises another question. Could my client continue casting it unnoticed?
Continue casting it?
You'll understand once I go over the order of events that night. At an unknown time, someone stole the Sword of Spell Eating from the Haroldson Gallery. Due to the timing of this, I'll admit that it would be logically consistent if my client was the thief. However, sometime later, my client met with the Crown Prince and was watched closely by the King's Guard. From witness accounts, including yours, we know that this happened at 12:45 a.m. And since this time, my client didn't leave the King's Guard's sight. It was around this time that William Frega retreated into his study and locked the door. He made a point of telling everyone that he didn't want to be disturbed. Then, at 1:03 a.m., Lord Haroldson finally discovered that the sword was stolen. He reported the theft to the King's Guard, and they activated the lockdown system. Shortly after the report, Beatrice Frega tried to speak with her father about the theft. William Frega reiterated that he did not want to be disturbed. Beatrice saw his face, and there weren't any traces of illusion directly on his body. This means that William Frega was still alive at this time. Unbeknownst to everyone at the time, William Frega was attacked by the murderer at 3:12 a.m. This is confirmed not only by Jan Hughes' testimony, but also by the autopsy report. Then, at 3:26 a.m., the King's Guard found the Sword of Spell Eating in my client's old room. The King's Guard tried to arrest my client for this, but the Crown Prince told them to stand down. Finally, at 3:36 a.m., the lockdown was lifted. Jan Hughes reported what he heard, and that's when the Inquisition and the King's Guard discovered the body. The theft must have happened before 1:23 a.m., when it was actually reported. In order to keep Maranath concealed at every step, my client would have needed to keep him invisible from 1:03 a.m. to 3:12 a.m. Not only that, she needed Maranath to wield the Sword of Spell Eating to ignore the effects of the anti-magic fields. This means he would need to be invisible for more than an hour.
What's your point?
My point is that invisibility has a duration of 1 hour. I'll admit that my client could have cast invisibility before she met the Crown Prince. But if she wanted to keep Maranath invisible, she would have needed to recast the spell at some point that night. And as you know, my client couldn't have done so during that night without the Kingsguard noticing it.
Your logic makes sense. But that can only mean that the defendant refreshed invisibility right in front of everyone watching.
In front of the entire Kingsguard, 2 princes and Lucio Steelwind,
And a partridge in a pear tree.
and a partridge in a pear tree. Merry Christmas.
As unlikely as it is, it's the only conclusion I can come to.
I had a feeling you'd say that, which is why we have a witness who can confirm that Beatrice didn't perform any magic that night.
A witness?
Your Honor, the defense would like to call Prince Alaric to the stand. Oh no.
Oh boy, here we go.
I see. He would have certainly been close enough to notice the defendant casting magic. But wouldn't the Crown Prince's testimony be more suitable?
Are you trying to...
Oh, gods, yes.
Are you trying to say that Prince Alaric is unqualified to give proper testimony, Your Honor?
He's 7!
Of course he's saying that. The kid is 7 years old.
No, of course not.
Isn't there a legal precedent, like, well, in our world there is, that you shouldn't have kids be the main point of testimony, because they're not super reliable.
It's not really a hard rule so much as just kind of a general rule of thumb.
It is frowned upon.
Yeah, it's more of a suggestion.
I wish we could call Aster instead.
Only because you want to go mooning over him like you're freaking Arya Steelwind. I know your type.
And also,
It's royal himbos.
I don't want to voice the stuffy child.
Yeah, fair.
Is the prince ready to testify?
But then again, do you think I enjoyed voicing Jan Hughes?
Fair enough.
Do you think I'm going to enjoy voicing Maranath?
Fair enough.
Considering I make him sound like he gargles nails for breakfast?
Grow a spine, for Lord's sake.
Thank you for coming in, Prince Alaric. Could you please...
Hold your tongue, knave. You will speak when you are spoken to. Oh, God. He sounds exactly like Miriam when we first met her.
Honestly, he behaves exactly how you'd expect a prince of this rotten kingdom to act.
Well, yes.
Aster's the odd one out in this situation. It makes you wonder what made him so down to earth.
His mother was a golden retriever.
Your Highness. Mr. Cuthbert believes that the defendant used her magic while she was with you and the Crown Prince.
I already gave my statement to the instigators.
Investigators?
Oh, bless this little idiot.
This man dares to question my testimony?
But yes, he said it, not me.
Wow, the judge didn't even think twice about throwing you under.
Very well. If my testimony is required to strike down these redundant accusations, I will bestow it upon you.
We need to get this kid a dictionary.
Redundant? Don't you mean ridiculous? Mr. Cuthbert, do not dare to suppose what His Highness really means.
His boots must be shining from all that licking you're doing.
What was that? Oh, nothing.
You think Lady Frega cast magic right in front of me? Don't be a serf. She was under the careful watch of the Kingsguard, my brother, and Lord Steelwind. We conversed for the whole night, and I didn't see her cast any magic. She's been through so much over the last few years, all because of her horrid father. She'd never do something like this. You and Lady Steelwind are just jealous.
Seems really convinced that he didn't see anything. You doubt that he's intentionally lying.
Celeste, usually when you cast Detect Magic, I can see magical energies overlaying your eyes.
Yeah, there's always a visible magical effect on the target when I cast a spell.
But Marineth was probably in another room. Kingsguard wouldn't see the initial magic effect of invisibility.
Even if there wasn't a visible effect in that room, she would have still needed to say the incantation and perform the gesture with her hands.
Right. Like how you shout Repario Arcanum every time you scan a crime scene?
I don't shout it.
You shout it.
Anyway, she must have done the incantation and gesture at some point during the night. Did she ever get an opportunity to conceal herself to do so?
Celeste, what do you usually need to cast a spell? What do you usually need to do to cast a spell?
There are a lot of factors involved, honestly. Stamina and focus are a big part of it.
Assuming that she's in perfect condition, what's the bare minimum that she would need to do?
Well, she would have to focus her magic, say the incantation, and perform the gesture with her hands, all at the same time.
That does sound pretty conspicuous. Bet she must have hidden it somehow.
I wonder if she could hide it under a conspicuous habit.
Like, say, weirdly clapping her hands.
Oh, I was talking about the stuff nuns wear. Very billowy.
Invisibility. Gesture. Clap both hands together. Concentration? No.
Well, I think that's about the most important statement he's made. Maybe press it so we can get a little more info?
Yeah.
If I recall correctly, you and your brother were with her until she was arrested for the murder. What did you speak about?
She told us stories about what she did while she was away. She was researching something. I forgot what she said. Something about the old cult.
Okay, a bit of a typo there. We'll make note of that for the devs.
Concentration? No. Goddamn, my pardon would have been invincible if that were the case in D&D.
Listen, we have to make a couple of liberties for the sake of the narrative here. Do you mean the occult?
Yes, that's it. She was researching ghosts and demons.
Considering who her familiar is, her research must have borne fruit.
So it would seem. Well, Your Highness, could you please add this to your testimony?
If I must.
Back it up, back it up. The occult are a fascinating phenomena. That is a grammatical shambles. And a rather familiar sounding one at that.
Oh, occult RA. Clap both hands together.
Gee, I wonder what she does all the fucking time.
Then, there. Thank you.
Oh, I love that.
That clever, beautiful woman.
I mean, she is, though.
To cast a spell, a mage needs to speak an incantation, but there's nothing that says you can't say anything before or after it.
Your Highness, according to your testimony, the defendant told you that the occult are a fascinating phenomena. Is that exactly what she said, word for word?
Yes, the stories she told us were quite interesting. They really stuck a court with me.
This fucking kid.
He's 7. He's trying to sound smart, bless him.
Oh my god, I'm never having kids. I see. Well, even if they were interesting, your testimony proves that she did cast the invisibility spell that night.
Are you deaf? I already told you. No one heard her say any incantations, nor did they see her perform any gestures.
Unfortunately, your testimony proves the contrary. Beatrice Frega said an incantation and performed a gesture right in front of you, all without anyone even knowing it.
What?
Your Highness, there are 2 components required to cast invisibility. First, the caster must speak with the incantation Occultare and clap both of their hands together. As I'm sure you noticed, the defendant has a habit of clapping both of her hands to clone herself. Now that I think about it, that habit must have come from constantly casting the spell. The defendant requires Maranath to see, so she must constantly cast invisibility to keep him invisible.
Cuthbert, you may have an explanation for how she hid the gesture, but she would have still needed to speak the incantation.
But she did speak the incantation, and the witness's testimony proves it.
What are you talking about? I never said that she spoke any incantation.
Your Highness, the incantation for invisibility is Occultare. Now recall what the prince said in his testimony. She said, "The occult are a fascinating phenomenon." The pronunciation of that one phrase is identical to the incantation. I see. So she hid the incantation in her dialogue. And because her target was a creature that was outside of the ballroom, no one saw the magical effects. This means that Maranath had the means to murder William Frega, just as Eugene did.
Having the means is completely different from actually having done it, Cuthbert.
Very few people had the ability to shatter the display case to steal the Sword of Spell Eating. And even fewer people had a familiar small enough to traverse the vents.
Which also makes Haroldsson's familiar an equally likely suspect. And unlike my client's familiar, he admitted to breaking into William's study that night.
If your client's familiar is truly innocent, then why not have him testify before the court?
He can even talk.
Oh, my poor trachea.
I see. Well, it's not as if he's the first unprecedented witness we've had. Today? Is Maranath willing to testify, Ms. Timora?
You see Timora deliberating with Beatrice and Maranath? Can't hear what they're saying, but they're clearly in disagreement with each other. Maranath in particular seems to be the most vocal about his displeasure.
I think this is your line, by the way.
No more testifying familiars.
But Mom!
Your Honor, unfortunately, Maranath is unwilling to testify.
Why the change of heart?
My client's familiar may be a demon, but he's afforded the same rights as any other person. He's not obligated to testify. You look at Maranath, and he's grinding his very sharp teeth together. For some reason, he appears to be looking at you with intense hatred. Why are they being so secretive all of a sudden anyway? A witness can refuse to testify to avoid incriminating themselves, but a refusal to testify is suspicious in and of itself. Timora had no issues with Beatrice taking the stand earlier, so why would she change her tune when it comes to Maranath? And despite what she said, Maranath seems like he disagrees with their decision the most. Is it possible that he's the weakest link of the three of them? So, he might be the key to implicating them.
And according to the legends, demons take great pride in their ability to deceive and corrupt people.
You wonder.
I see. Maranath is well within his right to refuse, if that's what he truly wants.
It is.
Well, I suppose it's for the best. I doubt he'd be able to corroborate your story at all.
Needling the demon to get him on the stand, you absolute bastard, Tyrion. Maranath grinds his teeth together. It sounds like metal grinding on metal.
Considering his diminutive figure, I don't blame him for being a coward.
Oh my god, Tyrion, you're gonna get stabbed by a demon.
Mr. Cuthbert, could you please refrain from provoking the little demon?
Oh, it's fine, Your Honor. He can't do anything without his master's word. And between him and the defendant, it's clear that Beatrice is the brains of the operation.
You shut your filthy celestial mouth.
Celestial?
Celestial.
Celestial.
Celestial! What do you think I am, Ed Sheeran?
I wasn't expecting to get myself with that.
I'm very interested in the fact that he referred to Tyrion as Celestial.
Yes. Yes, that's... he wouldn't be the only powerful figure I've pissed off today anyway.
Oh!
He's gonna die.
Arnath, what are you doing?
I will not stand here and be insulted by a bloody Heavensborn.
Heavensborn?
Are you really going to make me keep repeating myself?
Sir, I'm gonna need you to elaborate.
I am still within my contract, and I will not flee from the likes of him. You want my testimony? I'll give you my goddamn testimony. Shut up!
Your Honor, my client does not consent to having her familiar testify.
Timora, didn't you say earlier that Marinoth is afforded the same rights as any other person? He has a right to refuse to testify, but only if he can decide if he wants to exercise it. And he's clearly intent on giving it. So, Marinoth, why don't you testify about what you were doing on the night of the murder?
Gladly.
God, that's a face only a mother could love.
Yes. Funny you should say that. I provided sight to my keeper while she spoke with the princes. I'll admit that she did cast invisibility on me during that conversation. She needed to keep me hidden after all. But I never left the room when my master was. Nor did I steal the sword of spade. You have nothing on me, Heavensborn. You don't even have proof that I entered William Frega's study.
Do you honestly expect us to take your word for it?
Yes,
Or do you have any evidence to support your alibi?
I only speak the truth, Heavensborn. There were mages other than my keeper that could have stolen the sword. And by your own admission, none of your witnesses saw me on the night of the murder. The one lacking evidence is you.
He has a point. You still need definitive proof that ties into the murder. Presenting contradicting evidence might not be possible. However, he's clearly lying in his testimony. And there's something strange about the way he's speaking. Why is he pausing so much? You're not seeing any thoughts through the eye, but perhaps you can try to interpret the meaning of his words.
Time to play word games with the demon.
Oh. My favorite.
That's an interesting way to say it.
Also,
You never left the room where your master was. Do you mean the ballroom?
but also,
Or
he
don't you?
referred to Beatrice as his keeper in the first part of the testimony.
Oh,
And now he says he never left the room where his master
Somebody has been paying attention.
Keeper and master carry two very different connotations.
Don't they just?
Interpret. He keeps taking pauses before certain statements, but not all of them. And more importantly, his word choice was different at that time. Did he slip up?
Marinoth, it looks like you misspoke and used the wrong word.
What?
Through most of your testimony, you referred to Beatrice Frega as your keeper. But you referred to her as your master during one statement. Why is that?
For the first time, he doesn't have a response.
So I'll ask you again. Did you leave the ballroom that night?
I
didn't leave the room where my master was.
He's using the word master again, even though you pointed it out. Why isn't he correcting it? Does that mean he's intentionally using that term? If so, why? Why is Maranath using the term master? There has to be a reason why.
I mean, that's also true, yes.
Beatrice is not Maranath's master. Okay, if you take his words at face value, the master he is referring to isn't Beatrice. And if Beatrice isn't his master, then his statement, "I never left the room where my master was," would technically be true. But why even bother making that distinction? He clearly has no moral hang-ups about committing murder. He could have just lied. Why wouldn't Maranath simply lie? Demons apparently pride themselves on tricking and corrupting humans. So why wouldn't he just lie in his testimony? Demons are not able to lie.
I don't know how accurate to actual mythology that is, but...
It depends on your mythology.
Okay, so it ain't completely unreal. Good.
No, it can't be. It usually... That sort of thing is more typically applied to, like, the Fae. But, like, I could see it applied to imps and demons in this case. Demons are clearly different from humans. But would they seriously have a limitation like that? It would explain why Tamora and Beatrice were so opposed to having him testify. There's only one way to know for sure.
Can you repeat the following statement for me? Tyrion Cuthbert's hair is green. What kind of ridiculous request is that?
Another pause.
I'm afraid I must agree, Mr. Cuthbert. Please don't waste our time with such random requests.
I'm just conducting a little experiment, Your Honor. So I'll ask you again, Maranath. Say that Tyrion Cuthbert's hair is green.
Devils usually can't lie in D&D, and certainly the Fae. Seeing as demons seem to be this setting's devils, I could see them carrying that one over here.
Well, there we have it.
Thank you, Z, for being our knowledgeable DM. Your Honor, Cuthbert is clearly making trivial requests to stall for time. His request is not worth a response from the witness.
That's not what I'm doing, Tamora, and I think you know that. Maranath, we truly don't know much about demons aside from the stories told in myths. So is it possible that demons are physically unable to lie?
Damn it. Damn it.
I'm sorry, Mr. Cuthbert, but that seems quite ridiculous. Why wouldn't the witness be capable of lying?
I genuinely don't know, Your Honor, but his testimony speaks for itself. He can easily refute it by granting my request. Say Tyrion Cuthbert's hair is green, witness.
You said it yourself. Tyrion Cuthbert's hair is green.
That's not what I asked for, witness. Repeat the statement I told you, word for word. Nothing after or before it.
Your Honor, the prosecution's argument is absurd. The witness is not obligated to justify such an outrageous request.
I might be compelled to agree with you, Miss Timor. If the witness wasn't clearly avoiding fulfilling that request.
Well, we're waiting! Maranath? You can easily prove me wrong by repeating my statement plainly.
You filthy heavenborn! Say it, Maranath. Tyrion Cuthbert's hair is... Tyrion Cuthbert's hair is...
Blonde!
Blonde.
It's got the same energy as the SpongeBob. What I learned in boating school today.
Oh, honey. Oh, we gotta sit you down and get you to watch Liar Liar. Woo! Oh, getting some big Jim Carrey energy from this little guy. Well, technically, it's a dirty blonde.
That's still blonde.
Oh, Is Mr. Cuthbert correct, Baroness? Is he a dirty blonde?
Just imagine him making how do you face visual joke for an audio medium.
Damn it, I Nintendo Capri Sun again. Love you, Tim.
Are you actually unable to lie?
I think his silence speaks for itself, Your Honor.
Remarkable. I would have never imagined. He's the perfect witness. Bloody hell, I should have been an attorney for the demons all this time. Life would have been so much easier. But judgment is been a long day.
And with that, proving my case becomes a much simpler matter. Marineth, did you murder William Frega? I'm sure you understand, witness. Under these circumstances, staying silent is basically an admission of guilt.
You have no reason to stay quiet, Marina. Tell him the truth.
Lady Beatrice, what are you?
I believe it's time to come clean, don't you, Marina?
I see. So that's your play.
Don't think you can just stall for time, Miss Frega.
Okay, revision to the earlier law. Only demons are allowed to testify. There, I have solved justice.
I have solved the legal system.
At the end, the winner is me.
Marineth has no choice but to answer the question.
Do it, Marinath. Tell the court the truth.
To answer your question, yes. I did murder William Frega.
What are you doing?
I'm doing the best I can. Miss Frega, does this mean you are confessing to the murder?
Oh, Your Honor, I'm not admitting to anything. This confession comes from Marinath himself.
But your own familiar just...
Let me ask you a question, Marinath. Did I order you to murder my father?
No, you did not, Lady Beatrice.
What are you talking about? You're lying, aren't you?
Demons are physically unable to lie, Mr. Cuthbert.
Oh, she got the Ojo-sama looking fucking thing going on.
Damn it, she's right. She must have done something. Did she plan for this? She must have arranged things so that statement would be technically true. It is surprising that got Ruby as well. She could have asked someone else to give the order, or she could have just implied it. Either way, she can just plead ignorance and blame everything on Marinath.
Still, this isn't over.
Oh? Is that so? Let me tell you, this trial was over the moment Arya turned her blade against me.
I don't care who you are, man, king, or demon, you're not going to get away with this.
Oh, I do love the gravitas behind that, but I wonder how long it will last. Hit me with your best shot, Heavensborn.
Oh, now she's saying it. Okay, well, clearly everybody knows something I don't.
I know it too.
Beatrice Frega, you may not have technically ordered your father's murder, but you are clearly acting with malice. You brought something dangerous into the manor, something that you knew would harm your father.
Oh, really? And what would that be? I didn't bring anything dangerous into Frega Manor. What was so dangerous that it implies lethal intent?
Listen, there is... I think we can just go straight to profiles for this one, huh?
Okay, you're sure? Girl, honey.
I'm sure. You brought Maranath into Frega Manor that night. You were clearly planning to murder your father from the start.
I require Maranath to see. That does not imply lethal intent.
But you brought a demon into that house, and as a result, your father was killed.
You cannot possibly try to say the demon isn't dangerous.
Seriously. That's hardly an innocent mistake.
My client specifically asked her father if familiars were allowed. We even received a written legal confirmation beforehand.
But he couldn't have possibly expected her to bring in a demon.
He didn't specify not to do this. The presence of Maranath did not break any of his rules, nor any laws made by the kingdom.
Gotta love that malicious compliance.
Right you are, Tamora. I can hardly be blamed if my familiar acts without my knowledge.
How can you be blameless in Maranath's actions? He's your familiar.
By that same logic, shouldn't we also blame Lord Haroldson for the actions of his pet monkey? If I recall, he broke into the study, tampered with the crime scene, and then left my father's body without reporting it.
Everyone's pulling the Airbud defense on this case. That's...
Maranath and Eugene are intelligent and sentient creatures. They have their own autonomy. Their keepers aren't legally responsible for their actions. Damn it, she's playing devil's advocate. But you suppose that's fitting for her.
There it is. But you still cast invisibility to keep Maranath hidden that night.
Mr. Cuthbert, I always cast invisibility on Maranath. I can't very well let people see him. Face it, Mr. Cuthbert. You have nothing on me. I did not commit any crimes during the Lord's Ball. Every crime related to the murder was committed by Maranath.
Oh, really?
Including the theft of the sword?
Including the theft of the sword. Beatrice, Maranath required your magic to break the wards guarding the Sword of Spellinging. You may be able to explain why you cast invisibility that night, but you can't explain why you cast an evocation spell powerful enough to shatter that display case.
Oh, that. I'd almost forgotten. I plead guilty.
What?
To the charge of grand theft, I mean. I ordered Maranath to help me steal that artifact so I could sell it on the black market. I would have never imagined that he'd use it to murder my father. Right. It doesn't matter if she's found guilty of stealing the sword. The Slayer rule only takes effect if she's found to be responsible for her father's death. Damn it! There's seriously nothing you can do? Maranath will take the fall on Beatrice's behalf. No.
No.
Threaten?
He's a demon. It's the only thing that makes sense. Maranath, the sentence for first-degree murder is death. Are you really willing to die for your keeper's crimes?
Oh, you stupid Heavensborn. Demons never truly die. Not destroyed, we return to the abyssal hells. Hell? If I were to die in accordance with your laws, I would return to my plane unharmed. What? Even if I could, a fate much worse than death awaits me if I fail.
Oh?
Those three are a pain to argue against when they're together. You can't break Beatrice's confidence at all. So, do you have anything else, Mr. Cuthbert?
I
didn't think so. Your Honor, it appears we found the true culprit. I can't believe you killed my father, Maranath. I'm so cross with you. That sounds totally convincing.
Sorry, Mom. I should give my apologies. I won't do it again.
Don't worry, I forgive you. Now then, is there any reason why this trial hasn't ended already, Your Honor?
She's fucking with me. She's fucking with me. I can't believe she's fucking with me.
Come on, don't you have anything else?
There is one thing.
Damn it, not again.
Yes, again!
Oh, is that all you can do now? Glare at me?
What? Maranath, what did you just do?
I've been watching him. He's been using an old celestial trick. Your divine gaze won't work here, Heavensborn.
Oh! Ooh!
And thus, the penny drops.
Ew! It looks like that was your last piece, Cuthbert. Well, we have at least proved that Tyrion's mom did not make a pact with the demon.
Happy end?
He just called you out in front of an entire crowd. No, this can't be how it ends. Not after you've come this far. What is it that you'd like to say in these situations? Checkmate. Cuthbert?
Well, I have to say this is one of the more eventful trials I've ever seen. It was many things, if not enlightening, but I suppose it all ended the same.
Come on, think of something. Anything.
Well, I find the defendant's actions quite suspect. I must agree with their argument. None of Ms. Frega's actions are neither legal under Livengard law, and there's no proof that the defendant is responsible for her familiar's actions. Or her father's, for that matter, but that's a matter for another time. With these revelations, I see no room for debate. We will be taking a brief recess. I will announce my verdict once we resume.
Damn it. Is this seriously how it's going to end? After everything you've gone through to get here?
This world is bleak, merciless, and unforgiving. But I've seen you. I know how bright the light within you is. Use my eyes. Peer beyond the divine gate as I once did. Maranath called you a Heavensborn, and your mother told you that there's a light within you. You have no idea what that means. What even is the divine gate? Why do you have the Eye of Horus? Why are you able to read people's minds? You've been so lost lately, but you thought you'd finally figured out who you're supposed to be. But all of this, everything you've been working towards, it was all a lie. You've spent your whole life trying to be like Miss Tamora. But is she even like her? No, she just wanted to raise you into a tool for the Eye Taker.
Tyrion, careful what you do in a courtroom surrounded by a bunch of people.
I mean, I don't think he's capable of casting Smite.
She was never your guardian. She was never your mother. Your real mother died years ago. Was Eris right? Is everyone in your life just trying to use you? Looking back on it, you've had no idea what to do with yourself since your mother died. You've just been making mistake after mistake, leaving Aranax, trusting Tamora, becoming an attorney. You've always just done as you're told. You never once made a path for yourself. But you saved Celeste, and Wallace, and Dracogen, all when no one else would stand up for them. Was helping them a mistake? You fought for a dream that doesn't exist, but that doesn't mean that you can't make it real. It's true that you followed Tamora's lead, but you've always done what you thought was right above anything else. Aw, his internal hope is his mom's voice. That is very sweet. You wouldn't have stood up to that criminal if you truly didn't know right from wrong. And you wouldn't be standing here if you'd just done as you were told.
Right. What do I do?
I'm not going to tell you that. You already know the answer. You've always known the answer. Take a deep breath and relax your thoughts. How do you prove that Beatrice ordered Maranath? Situations can seem hopeless sometimes, but there's always a way to win in the end.
Yeah. Just advance.
Oh.
There you go. They still got up.
Yes?
I ain't helping you here.
Another bug for the log, it seems.
Yep. But it turns out I didn't have to. In order to convict Beatrice, I need to prove that she was responsible for Maranath's actions. People leave trails, even when they think they've committed the perfect crime. Something always gets left behind. There has to be something that proves Beatrice gave Maranath the order. Beatrice's relationship with Maranath is clearly different than a relationship between two humans.
What is unique about Beatrice's relationship with Maranath?
There's a specific way their relationship works.
Their connection is facilitated through a spell. It's through a pact.
There's a specific way their relationship works. Or their pact, as Maranath calls it.
Wasn't there something that someone said? But what was it? Who told you something about demonic pacts? It was Harold!
Hello, I'm back to save the day. Oh, right. Sword of Spell Eating is said to have been forged using a pact between a demon and a mage.
Isn't making a pact with a demon just asking for trouble? They'd definitely betray you the first chance they got.
Well, legends say that demons often drafted blood contracts for this reason.
Wait, do you mean like a legally binding document?
Well, the concept is similar. But once you sign a blood contract, both you and the demon are magically compelled to fulfill its terms.
That's right. Beatrice must have made a blood contract with him. A legally binding document like that must describe how the relationship works.
I did tell you that Beatrice would never trust someone that she couldn't control.
Ah, Mom, you're still here? So she would only put herself in a situation where she had full control over Maranath's actions. It's not as if they'll ever show it to me. It will be a tall order to even prove that blood contracts even exist.
I guess you have a point. But if you ask me, I think you've done a wonderful job so far. Thanks, Mom. So just this once, let me guide you the rest of the way.
What?
Tyrion, your eyes don't actually read minds. They give you the means to reveal truths that are being concealed.
You can pull the truth out of anyone. And anything. So, say it together with me.
Marineth, dweller of Avernus. Wait, what are you doing? By the eye of Horus, I issue upon you a divine edict. Release thy guards and manifest your blood contract with Beatrice Frega.
That was fun. That was fun.
Fully and totally uncoordinated. Excellent.
Beatrice's blood contract. It's a legal document written in blood. It's also 50 pages long. And luckily, you somehow know the excerpt of the exact section you need. Marineth is prohibited from killing or injuring any and all humans. Beatrice Frega can designate individuals that are exempt from this rule, and exempted individuals will only remain so for 24 hours. After that, Marineth cannot harm them unless told otherwise. Beatrice's blood contract has been added to your notes. You did it! But how?
Questions for later.
Was that really your...
Questions for later.
Oh man, no wonder Eris is trying to break you. You're totally her anathema. Absolutely.
Hey.
No, that's not important right now. She gave you what you needed. The rest is up to you. What in the 9 hells was that?
You! When did you learn to... Mr. Cuthbert, what just happened?
I don't know!
I don't know! Your Honor, I just made the witness manifest their blood contract.
You did what?
Blood contract? You can think of it as a legally binding document. It lays out the terms of the pact between Beatrice Frega and her familiar. Incredible. Where did you learn how to do such a thing? I don't know!
Your Honor, I just need the level invalidate!
The library?
That's like the
Internet?
yeah, that's like the medieval version of internet.
Wow. To think that our kingdom had access to such knowledge.
Yeah, I'm not buying it.
How did you really find out how to do that?
I'll tell you later. It's a long story.
You're not sure if she'd believe you even if you told her.
Regardless, the defense's argument is as such. Marineth was acting alone, and the defendant is not to blame for his actions that night. However, take a look at page 7 of this blood contract.
Ooh, lucky 7s!
It specifies that Marineth is prohibited from killing any and all humans. There's only one scenario where he can do so. And that's when Beatrice Frega designates someone to be exempt from this rule.
You...
Beatrice Frega, you didn't directly order Marineth to kill your father. But you implied it by telling Marineth that he could kill him. Not only that, you did so within the 24 hours of the Lord's Ball. Your intent was clear. You brought Marineth into Frega Manor with full knowledge that he could and would kill William Frega. And that, Timora, is checkmate.
Gotcha, bitch.
And just when I thought the surprises were over. But in the end, we arrived at the truth. I suppose I can't disagree with that. What do you have to say for yourself, Lady Frega?
Do not call me that.
It's almost funny that you hate your name that much. Your entire plan depended on your claim to the Frega estate.
Do you have any idea what you've just cost me? Everything has been ruined because of you!
Why should I care? You're just another noble, trying to steal power for yourself.
Don't you dare lump me together with those tyrants! We wouldn't have just liberated House Frega. We would have liberated everyone. Miriam, Leifa, Arya, even Aster. Our system is broken. The only way we can fix it is by burning it down from the inside. As long as King Olivier sits on the throne, this suffering will only continue.
Lady Frega!
Spitting straight treason in the courtroom.
As the prosecutor, I should warn you. You don't want to add treason to your list of crimes.
Even though you'd like to see the king ousted as much as she does.
Yeah, well, he's got the tact to not say it out loud.
It doesn't matter. I'm done either way.
Heavensborn. Look at page 46 of the blood contract.
Huh? By accepting this pact, Beatrice Frega forever binds her soul to the abyssal hells.
Oh!
If Beatrice Frega fails to pay her debt by claiming House Frega and all of its assets, her soul, her mind, and her life will be claimed by the Empress of Discord.
Eris! Eris is literally the name of the goddess of discord in Greek mythology. The contract goes on to name several parts of House Frega's holdings. There's very little room for ambiguity. Arya was almost right. She jumped to the wrong conclusion. My debts were never to the Eye Taker. It was to the abyssal hells.
Why would you agree to something like this?
Because I miscalculated. In this folder are records of your many plots against House Steelwind and the Crown. It would be a shame if this information fell into their hands.
Oh boy, now I have to voice Nixon.
You think that this feeble attempted blackmail will frighten me? I've dealt with far more formidable adversaries than you. There's nothing I can't solve with House Frega's resources.
What are you talking about? Lucio Steelwind isn't the type of person you can just buy.
It's clear your time away is nothing. Everyone can be bought. I am not a crook.
Before I left, he controlled every aspect of my life. I saw him as this unstoppable, tyrannical force. But I never even considered one possibility. That William Frega was a sheltered moron.
Oh, honey, how the hell did you not piece that together earlier? He honestly thought he could pay off Lucio Steelwind. Anyone who's met him would know that would never work.
I could have sent this information to House Steelwind and the King. But I was running out of time. I needed to inherit House Frega as soon as I could. I felt trapped. I felt angry. I just wanted something to change. Something about this feels wrong. Something deep inside you is crying out in anger.
Blood contract is still a legal contract, isn't it?
What?
If it's a contract, we can dispute it. We can find some kind of loophole to get you out of it.
What? Trying to redeem the enemy you just defeated? You really are a Heavensborn.
I'm sorry, Mr. Cuthbert, but I won't accept your help.
What? Why? We can at least try, right? Did you seriously come this far just so you could die?
To dispute a blood contract is to bet your own soul. If you fail to render it no, your soul will be dragged to hell alongside hers. Even your divine blood will suffer from that fate.
I need to pin this little imp boy down and get him to tell me everything.
But still, I can't just...
You've beaten me, Mr. Cuthbert. I don't want to drag anyone else down with me anymore. Not you, not Leifa, not Miriam. Despite everything, I still have my dignity.
All in due time, Z. All in due time.
I believe there's no further need to prolong this trial. Bailiff, please escort Lady Frega and her familiar to a holding cell. I'll be passing my verdict shortly.
Yeah, don't look at me. I can't add levity to a situation like this.
Hey, are you okay?
Yeah. As okay as I can be.
You still feel uneasy about how things turned out. It doesn't feel quite like the victory you were hoping for. You fought against the demons, and you can't help but feel like you lost. Cuthbert, we need to talk. What's done is done, but the boss isn't going to take kindly to what you've done today. I know it's a long shot, but maybe if you talk to him, he'll...
No.
Cuthbert, this is serious. He's going to send people after you. Dangerous people. You can't just ignore this.
How old were you when your real mother was executed? 10 years old? Tamara was the adult in that situation. And what did she do? She fed your anger and hatred for the nobility instead of allowing you to process your grief healthily. Tamara took you away from your only friends and isolated you from society. As a result, you never formed any other relationships. She isolated you because she wanted to use you.
Please, just listen to me and...
Shut up.
Tyrion?
How could you do this? How could you work with criminals?
Cuthbert,
Everything you told me. All those ideals about protecting the weak. It was all a lie. Everything Commander White said about you is true, isn't it?
I'm just trying to...
I don't want your help.
As you yell at her, your voice echoes throughout the lobby. Several of the people nearby turn silent.
I gave up everything for you. My childhood, my home, my happiness. I left it all behind to chase the ideal that you told me you were fighting for. But it was never real, was it? You made me throw away everything. All for a goddamn lie. But I'll make it real. And I'll do it without you.
Tyrion, As she reaches her hand out to you, you step away from her.
You never cared about me, did you? All you cared about was using the Eye of Horus.
That's not...
Shut up! I don't want to hear any more of your damned lies. Go away. Get the hell away from me. I never want to see you again.
Without a word, she walks away from you.
Tyrion.
She reaches out her hand to hold yours again, but she hesitates this time.
Do you honestly think Celeste will ever love you? I'm sure you understand now. Tamara can only afford to pay her exorbitant salary because of my father. You've already burned that bridge. So where do you think the Crimson Demon will go when you can't afford her services anymore? Do you think she has the luxury of playing around with you for free? Or did you actually think that she enjoys spending time with you? Tyrion, you have to look at this rationally. Any support or affection that she's given you has only been to keep you as an employer.
No.
What? I can't believe it! We actually won! Tyrion,
Celeste, there's no way for you to avoid checkmate next turn. Just surrender.
There! What about that?
Checkmate.
Damn it! You've been acting weird since we arrived in Aranax. Does it have something to do with your mother? Please, just talk to me. I'm your friend, aren't I?
Your hands are trembling. Why are you so scared right now? You feel Celeste hold your trembling hand from behind you. It's the same sensation you felt back then. Your anxiety fades and you take a deep breath.
I'm not going to do that, Ms. Timora.
As she hesitates to hold your hand, you reach out and grasp it. She smiles as you take hold of it. She seems glad you didn't pull away this time. Without thinking, you pull her into a hug. Ow.
Sorry.
Huh?
Sorry. I just really need this right now.
Double door.
Should I stop?
No, it's just... people are staring at us.
I should stop. Who cares what they think? They're nobles. They're going to hate us no matter what we do.
You're still unsure of what you're going to do next. But perhaps you don't need to. Even if Timora's ideal was a lie.
Hey, Celeste. There's something I've been wanting to tell you about.
Oh? What is it?
It's, hard to explain, really. I don't even know where to begin.
Oh good, we're finally gonna tell her about our secret superpower.
But it's about an ability I have. I call it the Eye of Horus.
Even if that ideal was a lie, you have the power to make it real. And even if you can't trust Timora anymore, you have people in your life that you can trust. Sheesh!
Oh, that was a ride.
Oh.
But it's not over yet. Fine messages. And utterly ruined everything. As much as Timora hates it, we're gonna need to put him in the ground.
I don't think that will be necessary.
Sorry enough. I know you're fond of him, but I can't let an insult like this go unanswered. He's going to have to pay the price.
I think you misunderstood me, Father. I meant that this facade is no longer necessary.
Huh? What the hell?
Is something wrong, Father?
Who the hell are you? You look nothing like my daughter, so why?
It happened centuries ago, I believe. Your great ancestor hated the monarchy and needed a weapon to fight the mages of the noble house. So he made a pact with me.
What are you talking about?
The things didn't turn out like he wanted, I'm afraid. Poor Lord Lyran's plot was discovered, and his noble house was stripped of its rank and status. His very name was stricken from the annals of history. He was supposed to give me Wyvern Guard, but I had to settle for claiming his bloodline.
Lyran? How do you know about my name? No one knew about that name. Not even my real daughter.
I know it's been centuries, but I haven't forgotten, John. Everyone in your bloodline belongs to me, including your daughter.
You bastard! What did you do to her?
What I do to all my prey. I made her suffer.
No.
Did you know that she was crying out for you for months? I made her watch, you know. I made her watch as I took her place. All while the father that she so desperately called out for forgot who she was. All while my minions slowly and painfully tore her soul apart.
You monster! You goddamn monster!
I enjoyed her torment while it lasted. But even that couldn't satisfy me. What I really crave is the blood of a celestial.
That's what this is about? That stupid kid?
But I can't have you kill my dear Tyrion just yet. At least not until I'm done with him.
You goddamn demon! I'll kill you!
This man is your enemy. Your life's goal is, and always has been, to exact revenge on him.
What the hell are you talking about?
You. I lost everything because of you. They kicked me out of the Inquisition because of your false testimony.
What? Let go of me! You killed my entire family! I won't let you get away with this! What are you talking about? I didn't do anything!
Hey, isn't that the noble who killed all those children?
I heard he got released by paying off the judge.
What are you all talking about? Get away from me!
Don't lie to us. We know what you did.
No! Stay away!
We finally entered the final act, my dearest Tyrion. And from what I've seen, I think I know exactly how I'm going to break you. I hope you're just as excited as I am.
And that's where we're leaving it. Enjoy this smooth jazz.
Oh, I'm so happy I finally got to break out the crazy Eris voice.
All time coming, eh?
I have been waiting.
Yeah, if you thought this was a crazy ride, just wait till next time.
Wow. Well, this has been one hell of an adventure so far, and I am so stoked to start Case 5 next week. Yeah.
Oh my god, it's gonna be on Friday the 13th!
Yes. Perfect. Beautiful.
Oh, that's just too good to pass up.
I can think of no better time. So, thank you to everyone who stopped by. Double thank you to anybody who's watching the VOD after the fact. And we will see you next week.
With the
Friday.
fifth and final case, Attorney of the Arcane.
On Friday the 13th. So, until then, what does this button do?
Oh, no, again!